Hello. 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 Hello and welcome to How to Run a Successful Business and Still Have a Life. My name is Stacey Morgan, and today's episode is brought to you by my free webinar called Operation Growth. It's happening in September 5. The 5 signs your business is ready to grow and how to take it there. I hope that you can join me. Of course, you can get the recording if you can't turn up live. That's totally fine. But you do need to register, and you can register now at simplystaceymorgan.com or at the link in my bio on my Instagram. How are you doing? How are we doing? Last week was big. We were talking all about that fear of failure in business. And sometimes that stuff is kind of a little bit brings up some stuff. So I hope that you've had a good week, and I hope you've had the chance to unpack either, with yourself and your journal or with other people that you have surrounding you, because that fear of failure and that feeling in business comes up a lot, especially with coaching clients who are working with me for the first time. But a lot of people put off working with me for the first time because they think they're not ready. I hear so often, that sounds great, but it's not for me. In a year or two, I'll be, insert next sentence here. And that happens a lot. It happens with self-sabotage. It happens with self-doubt. It happens with that imposter syndrome creeps in. And I want you to know that if that's your thought pattern, then I've heard it before and it's okay. And I'll hear it again, I'm sure 100 times, because it is really, really, really common, that feeling of my business is not quite where I want it to be, or it's not quite where I think it should be in order to be able to invest in myself. I'll just wait a year or two. In a year or two, I'll have things all sorted. But what I think about that is, in a year or two, you've just lost a year or two's worth of growth and worth of work. And the great thing about the different programs that I run throughout the year, and I'm very specific. You can do one-on-one coaching with me at any time, but if you want to join my Thrive program, then that kicks off in March every year. And if you want to join Simply Business Accelerator, then that kicks off in October. That's exactly how we run our year. And so many times I have people say, okay, I just don't, because we only offer it every year. People go, oh yeah, I'm not ready, but in 2 years' time. And then when they eventually do join, they go, why didn't I do this sooner? And I hear it so often, time and time again, people wishing, understanding that they have that fear, understanding that imposter syndrome does creep in, but when they put it off, how much harder it is then to kind of catch up on what they've missed out, and how much they regret not jumping in the deep end and kind of going for it in the first place. So I wanted to talk a little bit about understanding ourselves, understanding why we like to procrastinate, why we like to sit back and kind of give ourselves a little bit more time, and how that can really work against us in terms of our business growth. The thing about investing in yourself is there's always more to learn. So it's not a journey that has an ending. You don't kind of enroll in this program and then you get to the ending and then you go, my business is perfect. Ta-da, I'm done. It's a constant moving train, that personal growth, that business growth, that professional development. And so wherever you jump on board, you're going to be able to pick up things that you need at the time. And I say this so often to my coaching clients, I can talk about the same kind of things. And if you listen to the podcast, you'll know there's a common theme between the things that I talk about. And sometimes people have absolute aha moments and go, oh, that resonated so hard with me. And I think to myself, oh, I talk about that all the time. I talked about it 2 months ago. I talked about it this time last year. I talked about it the year before. But at that time, obviously that person wasn't ready to hear it. And so you're going to get from whatever professional development that you invest in, whatever personal development that you're doing, you're going to get from it what you need at that time. And it's going to be able to be the foundations and the building blocks to really get you moving and to get your business growing, so that when the next piece of information comes to you, if you're ready to hear it, then you'll be ready to action it. And so sitting back and procrastinating and saying it's not for me right now, that's for me a couple of years down the road, or I'll just put it off and I'll wait until is not only detrimental for your business growth, but it's also detrimental for your business growth as well. So let's talk about some of the reasons that people procrastinate and why they put things off. Yes, there's that fear of failure that we talked about before, but there's also what people don't talk about, and that's the fear of success. So self-sabotage can come in when you actually kind of believe that you're onto a good thing and this could become a big thing. And that scares you a little bit. Either it scares you in terms of your profile, in terms of, how much you will be known for your particular business. Perhaps it comes in that if it's successful, then it's going to be a whole lot more work. And how am I going to, I'm already at capacity. How am I going to fulfill that work? And, if we're going to grow more, then perhaps I'm going to need more team. And am I going to be able to look after that team and manage that team and do all of the things that need to be done in order for the team to flourish? I can see how it's scary. I can see how that fear of success can stop you from doing things. But if you're investing in yourself and if you are taking steps forward, you're going to hear the information you need at the time that's going to help you put the stepping stones in place. And the great thing about investing in professional development is it often surrounds you with people who have been there before. And so they're going to be in a good position to be able to lift you up, to help you out, to give you hints and tips that worked for them, which will help, get you over that moment of what if? We also find, I also find with so many of my coaching clients or people who come to me and say, I'd really like to work with you, but I'm not quite sure how, they're feeling overwhelmed. So they procrastinate doing anything because everything seems like a bridge too far. Everything seems like it's going to be too much. And so that really stops a lot of people from feeling like they can step into something new. And I talk a lot about outsourcing, and I talk a lot about taking things off your plate and making space and leaving white space for good things to happen. And I think that's important when this overwhelm sets in, when you know that you need some help and assistance, when you know you need someone to walk alongside you, but you are too afraid that you're already overwhelmed, it's going to be completely overwhelming. That's the time when you really need to do some reflection. It's some time when you really need to look at your calendar. You need to look at how much you've got on your plate and go, okay, what can I subtract from this, and what needs to stay and what can be outsourced to somebody else? What am I just doing because I think I should be doing it, but when actually, what is the best use of my time? And so if you're feeling that overwhelm, if you know that it's time for you to step up and you do want to invest in yourself, but you're thinking, oh gosh, it's all a bit too much, I encourage you to subtract now. When we create space, good things come in to fill that space. So you've got to create the space first and that will help with that overwhelm. A lot of people also choose not to invest in themselves because they have this idea of perfectionism in their mind. They have, the idea that in 2 years' time, my business will be in this position and everything will be perfect, and then I'll be able to invest in myself, or then we'll be able to grow, or then I'll be able to get myself a coach. Whatever it is, that seeking perfectionism in life and in business is always going to be disappointing, because perfectionism doesn't actually exist. And if we're aiming for that all the time, we're never going to be satisfied. And that's not a great space for your head to live in. That's not a really good space for your mind to be in. So I am a big advocate of progress over perfection, just getting in and getting it done, just getting started, taking that first step. There's so many fabulous memes and images that you can get, but especially on the internet and on Instagram late at night when I'm scrolling. But I think about, those steps up the mountain, but taking that first step. Yes, it's not going to be perfect. Yes, your website might need fixing, and you might not have an onboarding system, and you might not have all the outsourcing things in place that you need. But if you just take the first step, then things will start to fall into place. And what I love is that so many times that people invest in any of my coaching programs, they come in to work with me, but they find themselves surrounded by other like-minded professionals. And before they know it, they've got people helping them solve problems that they thought were going to be, in a year or two's time, they were going to get to that. But because they are surrounded by people who understand and who get it, they end up using their contacts and using that networking. And not only do they get to work with me, but then they've surrounded themselves with people who are also helping them move along the way. And that is so cool to watch. That is so cool to observe. And one of the great things, especially about Simply Business Accelerator, because those women in business have been doing coaching for a long time with me. They're really kicking some major goals. Not only are they doing great things in their business, but they're helping each other. They're helping each other out. They're moving each other forward. They're advocates for each other. They're cheerleaders for each other. And I just get to sit back and watch the cool collaborations and things that they're doing together. And it's just really, really cool. So embrace that progress over perfection. Don't wait until you've got all your ducks in a row. Don't wait until everything feels right or everything is right, or, whatever rules and expectations you've set up for yourself. Don't wait until that is all lined up. Just jump in. Just jump in and start moving. Take that first step up the mountain, because you will be surrounded by people that will help you climb. And the other reason that I find all the time people don't want to invest in themselves and don't want to invest in the coaching that they perhaps need is because they don't actually know where they want to go. They know they've got a good business. They've worked hard for it. They know that it's growing and therefore it needs to change and evolve, but they don't really know how and where to go. And they feel kind of a bit embarrassed about that. Like, I just don't know what to do next, or I don't know where to go. So they're really unclear when it comes to setting goals or what they want to focus on or what they want to achieve. It's kind of just like, I just want it to be a thing. I hear that so often. I just want it to be a thing. And if that's you and you're feeling that as well, know that as soon as you start taking steps into creating more of a thing for yourself, then the things start falling into place. So you will get that vision, you will get that focus, you will get that drive, and there will be kind of like the clouds will part and there will be clarity for you once you start moving forward. If you're stuck and you can't see the forest for the trees, then it's really hard to make actionable goals. It's really hard to plan. You need to be able to, there needs to be momentum. There needs to be movement in order for you to get to a point where you can really see the big picture. And so I encourage you just to take that first step and just to start moving. So if you're a person that thinks, in a year or two, I'll invest in myself, or in a year or two, I'll, get my stuff together, then please know that you don't need to wait. You don't need to wait a year or two. You can jump straight in now. And if you know that your business is at a point of growth, then I encourage you to register now for Operation Growth, the 5 signs your business is ready to grow and how to take it there. My free masterclass that's happening on the 5th of September. You can register now at simplystacymorgan.com. If you enjoyed today's episode, please take a screenshot, stick it on your Insta story and tag me at Simply Stacey Morgan on Instagram. Thank you so much for listening. Don't wait. Just jump in. Trust me, it'll be so worth it. And I'll talk to you next week.